Hi Flosstube, welcome to my channel. My name is Jess, my pronouns are she and her, and it's WIP Parade time, yay! I have consciously come late to the WIP Parade party. I find December and January quite overwhelming, and I know that I contribute to that because I do the December sort of weekly updates. But yeah, I started Flosstube in August. So my last WIP Parade was an August sort of anniversary one, and I decided doing it 6 monthly works really well actually, because I'm planning to do March Madness, and getting the chance to go through all my WIPs, have a look at them, decide which ones to include for that works really well in February. Whereas if I do it in January, then 6 weeks later I'm like, oh, I kind of want to go through all my WIPs, and now feels like a bad time to do it again because I've literally just done it. So we are doing a WIP Parade today. I know new people tend to find Flosstubers through WIP Parades. YouTube does like to recommend the WIP Parades. So a bit of an introduction, I guess. As I already said, my name's Jess, pronouns are she and her. I am about to turn 35, which I'm quite excited for because I'm going to Disneyland because I can. Paris, nothing fancy. But yeah, I'm going with a friend next month, so I'm very excited for that. I live in Birmingham, which is smack in the middle of the UK, or middle of England more accurately, with my husband John, who is currently away for the weekend doing LARP, which is live action roleplay, which is quite often where he is when I film bigger videos because it's just easier when there's fewer people in the house. Yeah, so I live with John. We've been married 4.5 years now, almost. And with this one, Alfie. Hang on. I'm trying a new setup where my camera's the wrong way around, or my phone's the wrong way around, so I can't see myself on the phone, so I've set it up so I can see myself on the laptop. I forgot to mute the laptop. So, yeah, we have Alfie. Alfie is a cockapoo. He is, how old is Alfie now? 6? You 6? Grown up boy. Alfie is currently not allowed on the sofa. We've had a few little behavioural issues, so we've started working with a dog trainer. One of the new rules is he's not typically allowed on the sofa, so he hasn't featured for a while, but it wouldn't be a WIP Parade without an Alfie. So we're going to have a little cuddle, aren't we? Have a little cuddle while I say hello to everyone. And then you're going to have to get down, you're going to be really salty about it, aren't you? But yeah, Alfie is normally the star of the show, but unfortunately because of the training, he's not allowed up at the moment when I'm filming. What else? What do I do for a job? I never know how to explain this in like an elevator pitch way. I have, my job is technical. I work in consulting, and basically what I do is process improvement, but using like simulation software. So analysing existing processes, finding the bottlenecks, the problems, and then helping solve them, and helping understand how much benefit you'd get by solving the problems. I really enjoy my job. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that really. What else? I don't know. I've done this so many times that I've forgotten how to do it. What else? I'd say cross stitch is my main hobby, but I also enjoy books, video games. I've recently started knitting. I'm going to show you my one knitting project. I don't know whether to call that a start, a finish, a WIP, a prospective project. I'll explain when I get there. But yeah, recently learning to knit. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, something that I try to talk, not that I try to talk about, but I try to be quite open about. I'm autistic. I was diagnosed 3.5 years ago now, 4 years, I don't even know, a couple of years ago. Prior to that I had absolutely no idea, and for me getting diagnosed has been an awesome help. I understand what's going on in my brain a lot better, and I'm much better at like accommodating myself, being prepared and stuff. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, intros. I feel like that was very very washy at the end there. Right, stitching wise, I believe, reserve the right to change my mind on this, but I believe I have 29 projects. That is what Notion is telling me. 29 active projects. The other thing that I want to very briefly talk about before we go through this is March Madness. I've already mentioned it. For anyone who's not heard of it before, March Madness is basically a bracket tournament for your WIPs. So what that means, I'll put maybe like a template example, or if I can find it, maybe last year's. Basically, you pair up your WIPs, and there are different ways to do this. You could do like you stitch on both of them for a day each, and then you have a vote. I think last year I just went straight in with the votes and only stitched on the winners because I didn't have time to do all of them. So yeah, you basically have your WIPs face off against each other in an Instagram story vote, and the winner then moves on to the next round, gets stitched on and gets paired up with another winner, and they face off, and you basically keep going until you get down to one winner. I think this originally was created by the Steel City Stitchers, and I think the way they did it was with 8 WIPs. You stitch on each one, and when you stitched on a pair, they vote, stitch on the next pair, vote, and so on, with the aim that you get down to a winner about halfway through March. And then the aim that they set was that they would then work on that and try and get it finished and FFO'd by the end of the month. I did this last year and did it a bit differently. I did literally all my WIPs, 32 of them. We didn't stitch on all of them in that first round, we just stitched on the winners, and I got down to a overall winner like the very last day of March, which was Cabin in the Woods, and I then just carried on working on that in April. I don't think I got it finished in April, but I put some pretty good progress in. We're being a bit more restrained this year. I haven't actually planned this, so the reason I'm mentioning it now is I have a notebook and a pen, and as we go through I'm going to be making a note of the projects I want to include. I suspect I'm not, like, bracket tournaments work the nicest if you have like 8, 16, 32 projects. I think I'm going to end up somewhere between 8 and 16, which means my first round will be like a group round. So it might be 3 WIPs and I work on each one for a day and then they face off between the 3. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So let's get into it. Right, Alfie, I'm really sorry, but you're going to have to get off now. I come prepared. Let's show you my WIP box. We've got the WIP box. Oldest on this side, newest on this side. We're going to go through them in order, and as we go I will tell you about them. The info will be on the screen. I'll tell you about any games or challenges that I'm doing with these projects, and then we'll decide if it's going back in the box or if it's going in my March Madness pile, and then we'll deal with the aftermath of the March Madness pile at the end. So, Beyond the Horizon. Oh no, further back. Okay. You'd think I'd never done this before. So, Beyond the Horizon is my oldest WIP. I started this on roughly, I think, the 10th of June 2022. I didn't keep records back then, but I think that's when the last of the supplies arrived, which is something I could check in my email inbox because I ordered them all online. This is currently just a smidge over 50% done, 50.3. I can't hold this one up for ages, so I'm gonna have to fold it. My arms aren't that strong. There we go. So I am using this for a couple of different games or challenges. So the first one, this is the entirety of my WIP Go is just this project. Let's fold it some more. There we go. It's better. So each tile on my WIP Go board has 2 thread numbers, and they're basically those 48 that I've used are the 48 with the fewest remaining stitches. So my goal is to do at least one of those colours from each tile, and then the second one's like a stretch goal. So in January I did all 4. In February I have done 1 from each tile for now, and then I'm planning to go back and do the other 2. The threads are out on the side on my floss storage ready to go. I'm also now using this one for Flosstube Frenzy, which is a game created by the Alchemist Stitcher. Basically, as I go through, you'll see I've assigned, I think, 7 or 8 of my WIPs to different floss tubers, and whenever they post a video, I will put a certain number of stitches into the project. This one is assigned to Emma from Emma X Stitching because she also has this WIP. And whenever she shows the project with progress in it, I will put some bonus stitches in. So if Emma's first video is anything to go by, she's going to put a few stitches in every month, and she tends to do monthly updates. So this will get about 400 stitches from that, anywhere from 200 to 700 or 800, so up to about 1,000 a month, which I'm happy with. It's a total of, that isn't, oh no I do, 122,500 stitches, so I've got about 60,000 to go. And I think those 2 games will get me about 12,000, so about another 10%. I don't have like a set goal for when I want this finished. I just want it to keep moving, basically. And I'm not opposed, like those games are like a minimum. So I'm not opposed to just keeping going if I'm really feeling it. You'll see an example of that in a bit. Yeah. It's my first. I'll unfold it again for one last look. My first biggie, my oldest one, Beyond the Horizon. So this one isn't going into March Madness. It's already part of 2 games. And I'm happy with the progress that I'm expecting to get because of those. So that one is going back in the box. Right, next up, this is Twisted Band Sampler. I don't know which way to hold. There we go. Twisted Band Sampler. This is by Northern Expressions Needleworks. It's probably my only project with specialty stitches, I think. None of the others jump out in my head as having specialty ones. Oh no, I've got one other. So I started this as a birthday start. Information back up. Yeah, so I was a little bit late because the fabric arrived later than I intended, but I started this in March 2024. So we've gone from 2022 to 2024. I've got no 2023 WIPs left, which I'm pretty happy with. I've UFO'd a few. I pushed through and finished a couple last month. So 2024 March. Yeah, I think I started this as part of a SAL. So Tan and Amy were doing, is it Stitch the Rainbow? I think. Terrible with remembering hashtags. Yeah, so they would, I think most people were joining in with the Rainbow Quaker flag from Vivsters, but I had my eye on this and really wanted to start it. I have done a full colour conversion, you can possibly tell compared to the model stitch picture, mine's quite different. So if I unscroll this, I can show you. So we have done this in like a pastel rainbow. Can I show it all? No, definitely not. So pastel rainbow, you can see up here we've got my little swatch. Oh, which way are we going? That way. It's my little colour swatch. Excuse the fluffy stitches at the bottom, I unpicked the wrong thing. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with this. It took me a hot minute to figure out my colour scheme, and that is basically why we've gone all the way down the side. Oh, I can almost show it all. We've gone almost all the way down the side, basically to lock in that colour palette so I couldn't keep changing my mind, because initially I picked like the first colour and stitched it, and then picked the second colour and stitched it, and then I think it was like the third or fourth colour I got stuck, and I just didn't stitch on it for months and months and months, like maybe a whole year, because I just couldn't figure out what I wanted my next colour to be. So now we're locked in. I am stitching this from the bottom up, so let me just roll this back up. So having gone all the way to the bottom and across the bottom edge to get the colours in, I then realised, tighten this back up a little. Which way am I going? That way. All of the instructions for this start from this side of the band, and then you sort of build up from there. Doing this on a scroll bar though, if I start here, I then have to keep scrolling up to be able to move up, which is a bit annoying. So by doing it from the bottom, I can work across, you can kind of see here, I'm working across a strip, which means I get a variety of specialty stitches, I get a variety of colour, you get like some excitement from some finish, you get some new colours coming in. So that's been working really well so far. I'm going to try and bring it in for specialty stitch close up. So I have no idea what any of these are called, but I'm pretty happy with how they're coming out. Can I get any closer on that one? These ones, can I? These ones here. So there's 3 different sets of specialty stitches. The middle ones are like super slow to do. They basically take up the space of a smile across, but they've got twice as many steps involved. But to be fair, once I got going on them, I get into a rhythm. I think the specialty ones that have a lot of stitches, I very much get it in my head that they're going to be really tedious. And they're not as bad as I think they're going to be. Once I like just crack on and get going, they're really not that bad. What else to say about this? The fabric is from a dyer who no longer dyes, Chromatic Alchemy. Very sad about this. This is my only piece of fabric that I got before they stopped dyeing. I do want to make good progress on this. So this is also in Flosstube Frenzy. This one is assigned to Rachel, the Talking Dog Stitcher, because again, she also has this project. She was actually the channel where I first saw this, inspired me to get it. So again, when she uploads a Flosstube, I put in some stitches. If she shows Twisted Band Sampler with some progress, which I know she's also planning to do every upload, which works quite well. I quite like that my friends are trying to make me do more stitches, but in the process, me doing Flosstube Frenzy is making them do more stitches. So I kind of like the circular nature of that. But yeah, this one I am going to put into March Madness, I think, because I do really want to get some progress on this. I really love it. I also have plans. So this is a pastel rainbow on a kind of dark grey. I also have dark rainbow threads from Paintbox Threads. I might be getting this wrong, but I want to say it's Zoe. Was at a retreat I went to earlier in the year and helped me pick out a dark rainbow pearl cotton thread set. And I've just got my fabric through from Lola's Hand Dyed Fabrics. So that is basically kitted and ready to go. I just need to buy the PDF pattern. I really want to start it. I might come back to that because I'm really tempted to throw that into March Madness as well as a new start. I told myself I was going to finish this first, but I've got all the stuff. Like it would be rude not to start it now that I've got all the stuff. I have gotten this out at a few retreats and it's just not worked as a retreat stitch. I need my lighting set up. I need to be able to have something light or white on my lap to be able to see through the dark linen, to place the stitches. It is 2 strands, which I'm now sort of leaning away from doing. I tend more towards 1 strand stitching. So I think there's just several things about this that just have meant I've not reached for it. But I love the design. I love the sentiment. I think I've said this before when I've shown this project. The concept of there is room for everyone. That concept that everyone deserves to exist and be happy and not be harassed for existing. That is a hill I will fight for that. I will die on that hill. Yeah, it's an important sentiment to me. It's a core value. So I do really want to progress this. The threads are not showing up brilliantly, can I? So I'm stitching this with Baby's Blanket. There is probably a fancy way of doing this, but I'm going to show. So these are gorgeous, gorgeous classic Colourworks threads. Sort of pastel rainbow again. Really pretty. And it does kind of show up in the stitching. Ooh, hold it flat, Jess. It shows up a little bit better in person. But yeah, I love this, and I want progress on it. So this is also going into March Madness, because I expect, well, most of my March Madness stitching will be done at home. Like I said, I'm going to Disney in the middle of the month, but most of it will be at home. So that one's going in. This was, it is actually 43% done, so there's good progress on that. I started this, I think this was a cheeky early December start, so I started this on the 29th of November 2024. For anyone who's new, in December the last 2 years I have done 12 starts or 12 projects of December. So the first year I did this, it was literally 12 new starts. I have an advent calendar with like every other day little stitched stockings. So in each one was a little card with the name of a new start. For 2025, if any of those new starts were still going, were still WIPs, I worked on them again. But any that I'd finished, I got a new start in its place. So we're about to have a lot of December new starts. That was the first one, which I cheekily started a few days early. Next up, is this next up? Yes, we have Gamer. I don't know whether people want to see bags, but you're going to see this one because I love it. This one is a Turtle Bay Textiles bag from Sophie. Her bags are fab. To be fair, my project bag mix is basically Sophie's and my own and like one or two others. Maybe I'll show you one of mine as well, and then we'll only show bags if they're from someone else. So this is my biggest WIP. So this is Gamer Nouveau. Are we in shot? We're in shot. This is Gamer Nouveau. It is a GeckoRouge chart, and well, it's not really a kit. I was gifted this from another stitcher who had finished with the kit. She sent me the pattern and the leftover threads, and then I've colour matched them to stitch this myself. I am doing this on 20 count gridded Aida, which is my go-to at the moment, 20 count. And I am almost exactly 25%. In fact, I think literally I'm maybe 2 stitches over 25%. Because the last time I worked on this, I was so close, I pushed on and hit that target. This is no longer available from GeckoRouge. The chart, the PDF, is available from Medusa Dollmaker, but I would warn, I have seen various people do comparisons, and it's not charted by a cross stitcher. They've just put it through a conversion software. So if you can, I mean, I resorted to literally messaging randomers on the internet who I'd never met, never spoken to before, and being like, I can see that you finished this chart. I don't suppose you're looking to get rid of the paper pattern and threads. And Emily very, very kindly gifted me hers. I sent her some project bags back as a thank you. And I'm very fortunate that GeckoRouge, because they'd only just discontinued it, were able to then sell me the PDF as an add-on. So I have this in Patternkeeper, thankfully, because I think I'd struggle if I had it anywhere else. What other info? Started this on the 7th of December 2024. My sort of overarching goal with this is 10% per year. I want to finish it within 5 to 10 years, so 10 to 20% progress each year. Last year, I think I hit 20%. Was it last year? No, last year I hit 25%, because the last time I worked on this was the 23rd of December. But to be fair, a lot of that, all of December, I was just filling in this grey. which is very nice and easy and therapeutic. Once you've stitched the outline of an area, to just be able to go back and forth. Like I can easily do like 1,500 stitches of that background if I've not got much on in a day. It's just easy. It like stitch at a retreat or a what, like I do some watch parties with some stitchy friends, and we all stitch whilst we watch a show together. But it just goes really quickly because it's just a single colour. There's no looking at a pattern, there's no thought. Also part of Flosstube Frenzy, most of my big ones are. This one, having a complete brain blank. Oh, this one's assigned to Marika Stitches. I specifically put out a call for help on their Instagram as a story to say, like, does anyone know anyone else who's on Flosstube and actively working on this? And I got 2 suggestions, and having watched both, I picked Marika. So this one hasn't been worked on yet this month. I think I owe it like 600 stitches, maybe 800. I'm not going to check because my tablet's really slow. And if I come off of Notion, we're not getting it back. But yeah, so that one's still to go. I also typically use this one for Monogamous May. So when we get around to May, I'm doing themes every month. So Just Do It January, FFO February, March Madness. April is TBC. I might come back to that at the end because I could do with some advice and help. And then Monogamous May, which is where I just work on one project for the entire month. I did this project last year. I have plans to do it again this year. I might change my mind. Who knows? Who knows? That one's not going in March Madness because it is already part of Flosstube Frenzy and it is lined up to be Monogamous May. Next up we have Quaker Snowflakes. So this one is in one of my project bags. I make cloth padded project bags with the diagonal zips, kind of my trademark. So yeah, made this one specifically for this project. This one is Quaker Snowflakes, which I don't actually know who this one's by. Hello from Liz Matthews. This was another December start, so the 13th of December. And if I bring it in close, oh, where's the camera? There we go. I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but this is fully beaded. So we've got 2 colours of beads. The tree at the bottom there is a new colour, and then the rest is all in this white. These are size 15 miyuki delicas. I'm very fortunate to live sort of 45 minutes away from Spellbound Beads, so I can go look at beads in person. Unfortunately they don't sell the size 15, so I've had to sort of go scouting for colours and then order online to get the size that I wanted for this. What else? So this was a 13th of December 2024 start, and we are now 35.7% through. Although probably actually further because the bottom has glad tidings, you'll be able to see it in the picture. I don't think I'm going to add that. So we're probably further than 35% because I'm cutting a chunk off. This is another that's in Flosstube Frenzy. This one is assigned to Sherry from Just So Sherry because she also stitched this light on dark. I think you'll be able to see in the picture, but there are 2 versions of this, light on dark and dark on light. I think I might be making that up actually. I think there is. But yeah, it was one of those that I saw and went, oh, I need that. So whenever Sherry posts a video, I pop 100 stitches into this, and based on the fact that Sherry uploads pretty much every Saturday, I should have this done sort of, I think I worked out October. And that gives me a bit of wiggle room. If there's a few weeks that she doesn't post, I'll still hopefully have this done by Christmas. So that one already has a plan, so I'm not going to put that one into March Madness. Just because it doesn't need a little boost. Right, this project bag I'm going to mention because it's my Meta Cross Stitch bag. For my birthday last year, I decided to stitch on Meta Cross Stitch. I have this right next to me is where I normally sit to stitch, and we have my Meta Cross Stitch wall, which is basically stitching about stitching. So I have this stitching about stitching sort of spool themed bag, and it holds all of my Meta Cross Stitch projects. So this bag is going to be coming out at least 3, maybe 4. There's 5 projects in here, but one of them is like not. I might explain that when we get to the end. But yeah, this one's going to come out multiple times. So first up we have Light Sampler. This is by Owl Forest Embroidery. I started this 20th of December 2024, so again a Christmas start. Doing this with the Owl Forest threads, and it's on, I know it's Picture This Plus Gothic, I think. Yeah, I really enjoy this. I don't know why I don't reach for it, to be honest. It's just not one that pops into my head. But I do want to get progress on it, because it's been going for over a year. We're only on 14%. So I've now finished this sort of this big central motif. And you can see I've sort of started on the board that will go around that block. But I think that's the biggest one. So the rest should, I just get a motif done here and there, and it should go quite quickly. So this one is going into March Madness, because I want an excuse to work on it, basically. So yeah, that one's going in. I have, I think, 2 or 3 other Owl Forest thread packs, and I've told myself I'm not starting another one until I finish this one. But I've done that and then started the biggest of the ones that I bought. So I've kind of blocked myself from all other Owl Forests until I get some more progress on that one. Maybe I'll have to change it and be like, when I get to 50%, I'm allowed to have a second one. And then when I finish, have 2 on the go. But there's got to be progress on one of them first. What is up next? Soot Sprite. So this is not really cross stitch, although I am doing it on a piece of Aida. This is Soot Sprite, and all this is a circle of felt and then some chunky black DMC embroidery thread. That leg looks really spindly compared to the other one. This was inspired by a post I saw on a Facebook group, and I just loved it. So for anyone who has seen Studio Ghibli films, particularly Spirited Away, the Soot Sprites work for the Boiler Man, and he feeds them little stars. So this one is going to be holding up a little star like, yay, I got it, and then there'll be little stars falling around him. Again, this was a December start, or this might have been, are we on to New Year's Eve now? Yeah, so I also, starting in 2024, did the New Year's Eve 12 by 12, which is where you work on 12 projects for an hour each during New Year's Eve, and it's meant to be midday to midnight, so it's like a countdown. I don't really do midnight, so I think I started at 9 or 10 in the morning. But this, literally, I've only worked on for 2 hours. So that first hour, the first year, I attached the circle. And then New Year's Eve 2025, we did the sort of spikes coming out and the legs. So being realistic, I need 2 more arms and I need to attach some beads. This is like an hour's work. So I am going to include this in March Madness, but I suspect the first day where I get it out to stitch on it, it will just be done. In which case, whoever it's up against, whichever project it's up against, will just go through by default, which is fine. If it's going to get it done, it'll be worth it. So that one is going in the March Madness pile. Next up, going into a spiral. I have put these in order, but I don't trust myself not to miss a small bag that's tucked in and amongst. So this is my current sort of, I don't think Dobby actually came up with it, she told me, but Dobby used the acronym ABC Stitch, so it might always bring cross stitch. This is going into a spiral by Plastic Little Covers. It's actually the same as the Soot Sprite. It's on a piece of Dreamin' of Summer printed Aida from Stitch Bunny Shop, which I love. I think I bought a big piece and then used it for like 4 projects across Christmas and New Year's. Yeah, so the black in the middle here, you can kind of see I've used some a friction pen to draw on where I need to do those black text stitches, and it makes it perfect. Like, I'm getting my hair cut in a few days, so it's perfect for that kind of thing where I can sit and stitch whilst my hair is doing its thing, and not need a pattern, not need to be referring to anything to mark off a pattern. So I might actually leave this out to just, I don't know why I didn't get around to drawing on the G. You'll be able to see in the preview picture thing, there's then motifs around the outside. So I'm planning to do all the black on this one just in DMC, but then for all the colourful motifs we have beads. So you've got the peachy colours. Oh, we've got one pink. Maybe that's part of it. Oh, can I coordinate myself? I think that might be a 3-colour palette. And then we've got 2 purples and 2 blues. So this is going to go from being an always bring cross stitch, because it's just one colour and I can mark out where that colour is going in advance, and then it's going to very abruptly be a don't take it anywhere, because I don't like beading. Again, like with There Is Room, I like beading in my own setup. I use the sticky bead mat, but I'll put a beading project into a frame, usually a nerd hoop, and I will use the sticky bead mat and like magnet it to my project so that I've got as short a distance to go as possible from where I'm stitching to pick up the bead. But to do that, I need to have my Lowry, which means it's an at-home kind of vibe. I'm not going to put that one into March Madness because I don't want to rush the black. I'm enjoying having that as my sort of travel always bring cross stitch project, but I am going to leave it out because I need to draw on more of the last of the text and maybe a couple of the motifs. Buzz Block Party. This is another one that has been sorely neglected. I think I've maybe worked on this 4 days in total. So you'll be able to see in the corner what it's going to look like when it's done. I have 3 pieces of fabric. So the top is the one with the most progress. So I just need to attach the little square of fabric in the middle, which I have here somewhere. Come out. The little houndstooth square needs to go in that middle section. And then I think that's it. I think it's maybe attached with some specialty stitches. So that's the top. This is the bottom. I've not even stitched the outline on that one. And then for the sides, I think I've just done part of the outline. I couldn't even tell you what's the front and what's the back. That's the back. There we go. So we've just done the outline. I've not even finished the outline. Some of that is just a running stitch. So we've not got very far. Again, this was a New Year's Eve start. It maybe got worked on like 2 extra days during the year, and then again New Year's Eve. So this has maybe had 2 1-hour sessions and then maybe 1 extra stitchy day. So this needs some love. I don't think it's actually that big. It wouldn't, in fact. I have digitized this one. It's only 4,700 stitches and I've already done 1,000 of them. So there's already 20%, 22% with just that top part done. And I think the side is just cross stitch and the base is just the outline. So yeah, I really need to get around to actually doing that. And I've just covered it up. I've got all the specialty threads for this one tucked into the project bag there. So that one is going into March Madness because it needs some love. Next up we have Greenhouse of Oddities, and I'm going to show you this bag because I absolutely love the fabric. I thought the funky clockwork bees was so perfect for a Greenhouse of Oddities. This is, what are we on, because the fabric is important on this one. This is 32 count Tiger's Eye, which I got from Talking Dog Stitchery, and I'm doing this 1/1 because at 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve, when John had been ill, so I'd been trying to deal with getting him to and from the pharmacy in and amongst all my stitching, I had a moment of insanity, but I kind of love it. So this has actually had quite a lot of progress. I didn't realise it was a hanging thread, sorry. That was from this most recent New Year's Eve. So we are at 40.3%, but I'm planning to not include the people, so my percentage might be a little bit off. I think for the lady at the easel, I'm just going to leave her off, and the easel will be like it's waiting for someone to come back. For the guy who's like kneeling and looking at some plants, I'm planning to use, she did like a little terrarium as an add-on at the end of the sal, so I'm planning to use some of the elements of that to fill that gap. But I love this. I have to be in the right headspace for it. I tried joining in with Emma and Joe doing a sal for this last year, and I think I worked on it like once. It's not great. But I do love it. I think when I first started, I didn't work on it for ages because I thought like you're gonna hate the 1/1. But I put it, if I'm stitching Aida, I tend to stitch in hand. The only exception being beads, or I guess specialty stitches. For linens and even weaves, I do tend to put them in a frame or a hoop, and then I, as much as possible, if I'm stitching with one strand, I do two-handed stitching, but I do it as if I've got a double pointed needle. So I will poke the needle down, grab it with my other hand and poke it back up eye first. So I've literally got to grab it and move like a millimetre or two and poke it back up. It's the only way that my left hand can have enough coordination. We can do the fine motor control. I'm not very good at the pull it through, turn it round and then find the new hole. So it goes quite quickly, to be honest. Once I've got it set up, it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. I think that's something I found last year in general, is getting the setup right makes so much difference to how much I enjoy stitching. And sometimes that means ditching a project and restarting on a different fabric. But yeah, that one I do want to get some more progress on, so that is going into March Madness. It's one that I just, once I've been nudged, I quite often won't then want to put it down. So, hi buddy. You're having a nice snoozle. Okay, next up. I think that's, yeah, that was the last of the New Year's Eve starts. We're now into 2025. So my first 2025 start was on 21st of January. I think this was actually a little late. It was meant to be started for a birthday sale, but I couldn't figure out what fabric. So this is Lakeside Cabin. Yeah, I always get Cabin in the Woods and Lakeside Cabin the wrong way around. I was stitching them both at the same time, which is very confusing. Lakeside Cabin by NeedleLot Designs. It's my first NeedleLot Designs project. It's a Picture This plus Mystic. And I want to say it's 18 count. I think it's actually 16 count, but because their fabric tends to have shrunk, it's more like an 18 to 20. Stitching this with 2 strands by the looks of it. And again, this is a lot like There Is Room. I got it out at retreats a couple of times and it just didn't work for me. Like, I was trying to work in these trees, which are quite confetti heavy. Not confetti heavy, but they're just, it's a bunch of counting and it's a dark thread on a dark fabric, and it wasn't working for me. So I got this back out. I started this for Soph's birthday. When I got it back out, I just worked I finished off the middle of the sky here and came down and started on the cabin. I think that's probably the way forwards, is get the cabin done so that I've got like a solid structure in the middle to then work the trees outwards, rather than trying to count all this side, trying to count down from like a tiny start on the trees. So that one's also staying out and going into March Madness because I love the pattern. I just need, again, I need the kick to actually sit and work on it. Next up we have B. So this actually, technically, if we're being honest, is probably my oldest project, because I started this in December 2023. Yeah, this was one of my starts when I very first started using Instagram, and again I did 12 starts of December, but very much my way. So like, I think I did 12 starts and 12 finishes, but it was things like I finished a skein of thread, or I finished, like I completed a colour, which admittedly was like 40,000 stitches, so was actually a massive achievement. But I started this on gridded 20 count Aida, and I just hated it. I just didn't enjoy it. And then I saw Jess from Cross Stitching Smiles stitching GeckoRouges. So GeckoRouges by default come with gridded or white Aida. I think I swapped the fabric on this one from, I imagine I probably ordered 18 count and I swapped it down to 20 count so I could do 1/1. But Jess has stitched several GeckoRouges on like hand dyed fabrics and just not done the background. And this is one, as you'll be able to see in the picture, it just doesn't have a background. Like it's got the bee, it's got the honeycomb and the splats, but then around that it's unstitched. Some of them, which we'll get to, some of them will include like a white stitched background and expect you to stitch it all, which I can never be bothered with. But this one is just empty background. So I restarted it on a hand dyed fabric, and I think this came about because I went to Sunday Stitch Club at Turtle Bay Textiles in the January and met Marie from Swan Bay Fabrics, and yeah, saw some of her fabrics. And she wasn't there as like a vendor or anything, she was just an attendee. But yeah, I was talking about how I wasn't loving the fabric I was on, and also that my brain is now catching up. So Rosie from Rosie X Stitches was also there, and she and I were stitching this together as part of a Get Your Gecko Out hashtag. And like, if you haven't, go look at that hashtag. I find it absolutely hilarious that someone had actually used it to show pictures of real life geckos, and we then commandeered for GeckoRouge projects. So we were stitching B. As you have already seen, I have Gamer as well from GeckoRouge. I have several others which we'll get to. But I restarted this and have made a lot more progress. Oh no. So I'm now at 9.6% on this one. And again, I'm including this in Flosstube Frenzy. So Rosie is a Flosstuber but isn't currently filming. She has a young child at the moment. I say at the moment like she doesn't, like she won't next month or something, but she has a young child and has paused filming. So instead of Flosstube, I'm using her Instagram. She's quite active on there, so I think every post she makes during the month I put in 100 stitches. And I think if it's B with some progress on, I'll do some bonus stitches as well. I've started doing this as like colour complete. So I started off kind of, I tried parking, I tried like working in a page, don't love either of those. So as you can tell now, we are colour completing across this top sort of 100 rows of stitches. And that's mostly because that's as far as I could be bothered to grid the other half. The rest is not yet gridded. We'll get to that when we get to it. But for now, we've got colour completing going on, which I'm really enjoying. I stitched on this on one of our watch parties, and every now and then I'd have to come off mute and be like, someone pick me a number from 1 to 88, because because GeckoRouge kits come with all the threads, but they don't tell you the DMC numbers. They just give them arbitrary numbers from 1 to however many threads there are. So people were randomly picking numbers for me to work on next. So what's next? What are we up to? Now we're back to the meta cross stitch. So cross stitch makes everything okay. This one it's embarrassing that it's not finished. I just need to make a choice about a colour. This is cross stitch makes everything okay. The only thing left to do is those flowers. I just need to pick a colour and do them. I started this, so for my birthday week last year, on top of doing March Madness in the most insane way possible, I decided to have a week of new start. So I started 7 different meta cross stitch projects, which is why there's now several of these coming back to back. But yeah, this one, I love the sentiment and I'm excited to have it up on my cross stitch wall. I just need to pick a colour for those flowers and get them done. So that one is also going in March Madness. We also then have Introverted, which I'm tempted to restart because this literally got, oh, I don't have this one as digital, so I don't have a stitch count, but it got half of an eye. This is Sterling from Picture This Plus, and I think I just grabbed whatever fabric I had handy and I grabbed a thread. I don't love how these stitches look. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the grey on grey. I don't know if it's because I did them English method, because it's a variegated thread and they just don't sit very nicely. I just don't know. I just hate it. So I think that's probably a UFO, to be honest. I do still want to stitch the pattern at some point. I just, this ain't it. So that's going to stay out to get UFO'd and unpicked, and the fabric will go back in my stash. Next and last WIP in this project, and then I'll show you the project that's hiding in there. This is Snip Snip. This is by October House Fibre Arts, and again this was one of those week of meta cross stitch starts for my birthday. The fun thing about this one, can I show it? There we go. Oh, I'm really not good at this coordination when I'm looking over there. I'm holding up here. So each of these is stitched in a different brand of metallics. I do have a whole bag of other metallics to add. I just need to get around to doing it, but I don't think I want to torture myself with a day of just metallic stitching in the middle of my birthday month. So I do want to get progress on this one. I'm not going to do it in March Madness though. The idea of this being that I've taken notes on how much I like or dislike and any tips for using the different metallics. So when this gets framed, I will have on the back like a little photo of the layout and then notes for each one. So if I ever want a metallic, I can get it off the wall and be like, oh, that one's really shiny. That would look great in this project. I want something really shiny. Look at the back and be like, oh, okay, I didn't love working with it, so let's use shorter lengths, or let's make sure to use thread conditioner, or whatever it might be. Because they are all like shiny and metallic, but in quite different ways. So I imagine there will be times where one style of shininess will appeal over another. But it's useful to both have it as a true sampler, like I am literally using it to get it off the wall and be like, oh, which one did I like best for this particular situation. The project that's sort of hiding in this bag, which I probably should put somewhere else so that I don't forget about it, is this one. So Beautiful Things Come Together One Stitch at a Time. This is an adopted project from, my brain's gone completely blank, Heidi, Stitching Down the Rabbit Hole on Flosstube. She was UFOing this and I messaged and said, I've been keeping an eye out for a project with that sentiment on. Can I please adopt your project? The reason, because she sent me this like a good 6 months to a year ago. It's quite a while. I've not worked on this because I think I want to do the other half in a different colour scheme. So it'll be almost like a round robin vibe, but you can tell like that one half is one stitcher and the other half is another stitcher. I just need to, again, sit down and figure out the colour scheme. She sent me the paper pattern, so what I might do is digitise it and use that to play around with some different colour schemes. So I'm going to leave that one out as well, actually. It's my little pile of stuff to actually action. And then this bag is just full of thread. I'll just put the pattern with that. So we've got the Alforest threads, and then these are kind of a mix of fancy threads that I'm using for the Meta Cross Stitch Wall. I don't know if you can see. I'd like that notification to go away, please. So this shelf is the colour of our living room. The wall opposite me is all that colour. You can see just up here there's a grey one. So we've got kind of whites, greys and blues. So I've got whites, greys and blues and a couple of greens thrown in for where there's been greenery in some of these projects. So those could go back in there. So Snip Snip not going into March Madness, but all of my other Meta Cross stitches are. Cool. Next up we have Sulky. Move that before it falls. This is another over one. I don't have handy what the fabric size is, but I think it's 32 count. So this is another teeny tiny one. That lighthouse is, I think, more than half the height of the whole project. So this is going to be truly tiny. This is a Catanian Creations pattern. It was, she gifted these to everyone who attended the Sweary Stitchers retreat in, I think it was May last year. So this was her sort of gift to all the attendees. I have started this. Oh, which have I started this in? That's problematic. Oh, this one because it's loose. I've started this in Mediterranean Sea. And done sort of half the lighthouse, but my plan is to make this a bit of a teal sampler. So I've got Bejeweled and Mediterranean Sea, and I've then got some Valdani. So I'm planning to do like the lighthouse in one colour scheme, like I think there's some houses up here and cliffs and then waves and things. So I'm going to do like different elements in different teal colours because I like teal. It's a pretty colour. And it's sort of like a dark tone on tone vibe. I don't know. I haven't reached for that for ages, so I am going to put that into March Madness to prompt me to get it out and give it some love. Check where we're at. Christmas crackers. So this one has been on the naughty step. This one's definitely going into March Madness because I just need the cake to actually get it out and work on it. This is Christmas Crackers by Victoria Sampler, and this was going to be my Jolly July project last year, and I did start it for Jolly July. So there are 4. So there's 2 on this piece of fabric, and then I've got another piece the same size and same count that I've not started yet. So these, in 2024, I stitched and FFO'd the 12 Days of Christmas stockings by Annie B's Folk Art. They're what I use for my advent calendar with my new starts in each December. Quite liked the idea of having like a little 3D finished ornament set that I make each year, and I really like these. I think someone shared Victoria Sampler, I'd never heard of them, but mentioned it at the Jingle Ball that same year, 2024? Yeah, because I then bought this pattern and tried stitching them in 2025. These are charted in silks, and I did my own conversion to fancy flosses and bought them from Rachel at Talking Dog Stitchery, and the fabric actually from Rachel when I got to go visit her stockroom. And then started them. We had a weekend, some friends got an Airbnb in Blackpool, and I started these and made tons of progress. I was really happy and was like, I'm totally going to get these done completely in July. They've got some specialty stitches, they've got some beads, there's some buttons, there's all sorts going on in here. There's some heart sequins, there's little pearl buttons at the bottom here, heart-shaped buttons. there's a lot. It cost a fair bit to get all the stuff. We've got fancy ribbon, we've got all sorts going on. You might see on the snowman here, oh god, if you can't even see it, I'm going to be even more annoyed. Focus. Right, the snowman has a little nose, right? That nose is like 3 linen strands wide, and the pattern tells you to buy a whole skein of silk for 1 back stitch. I then went back and looked at some of the other colours and realised these beads at the top of the angel, those little gold beads, they tell you to attach that with a certain colour of thread. It's the only place that thread is used in all 4 patterns. And I was so annoyed about this, like that I'd meticulously gone through and tried to do a thread conversion, and it wasn't easy because the silks that they recommend are like 4 different brands, and in a lot of cases I was having to convert those to DMC and then DMC to the cotton fancy flosses that I had access to. So like this conversion had been a whole saga. To realise that I'd done all of that, and in some cases it was literally not going to be seen at all, or it was a single back stitch. I was so annoyed that this got put away and not touched for a really long time. Well, since July last year. It's probably the project that I've not touched for the longest, maybe. No, that's not true. But of my 29 projects, right, I looked at this beforehand, 24 of them I have touched in the last 3 months. So there's only 5 that I haven't. Introverted is one, and I'm UFOing that. This is another one. Sulky is another one, because for some reason I've let my head think that the fabric is scary doing 1/1, which is nuts because I'm fine doing it on greenhouse, but just I'm so annoyed. Clearly I'm not over it, but I just want to get through this. Just want to get it done because it's got all the threads in there that could go back into my stash, and I'm so excited to attach all these beads. There's so many pretties in here. There's like a little baggie in there as well with more more buttons. I was so excited for this, so I'm just gonna do it. We're not in Just Do It January anymore, but I'm carrying the sentiment forwards. We're just gonna get it done. So that is going into March Madness. Because even if it's just a day, hopefully that one day will get me out of the funk. Need another drink, I'm getting really croaky. So I started that in June, but intended to finish them in July. We then skip ahead quite a bit, and I don't know if that's that I didn't have new starts or just that I finished everything in the interim. But next up we have Freya. It's The Legend of Freya by Bella Filipina. Stitching this with, I think it was originally myself, Rachel from Talking Dog Stitchery, and Kat from Cat Kit and Lily. Stitching this using the hashtag Freya Friday Sal. I admittedly have been neglecting Freya. I think I worked on her yesterday, so my starts no longer show me accurately when I last worked on her, but I think prior to that I was possibly back in November, December. Yikes. We are at 10% though, and this one is also going to be part of my Flosstube Frenzy. So this one is assigned to Kat, and because she posts a lot of videos, cross stitch is her job now, so she posts a bit more often. I think I'm just doing 100 stitches every time she posts, and I don't think I'm doing bonus stitches for when she shows Freya, because at the moment she's showing it every time. So like for most of the other floss tubers I'm doing like 200 stitches for a video, bonus 200 stitches if they show it, but that's like they might have 2 videos, so like 800 stitches max. I think in January Kat had 6 uploads, and I think she showed Freya in most of them. So I'm really sorry, I hope you can't hear the washing machine. Let me go shut the doors. But yeah, I think over 1,000 stitches is perhaps too many for me to justify doing for Flosstube Frenzy. So, information about this. The other thing about this, which I have completely skipped over, is I am somewhat insanely stitching this on organza. So you can see here, this is organza, it's completely see-through. I'm using waste canvas as a guide to where to place the stitches, but once I've done sort of this top strip, I will remove that waste canvas and you'll start to see her sort of revealed on the organza. Yes, it's insane. So I'm doing a series of what I've dubbed the Organza Diaries, which is basically following how I set this up, how I put the stitches in. I think the second video of that, I talk about why this insanity. Yeah, so if you're interested in that, go have a watch. But I do want to get some more progress on this. My next episode is going to be putting in the beads. So I've done a few beads in here and then decided that it was easier to do them all at once. I think insanely I was doing them here using Chromatic because there was Chromatic stitches next to where the bead was going. It seemed easiest to use that existing thread. The challenge that I'm finding with this is around all these twiddly bits. You have to be really careful how your thread travels on the back, even like diagonally adjacent stitches. You have to be really careful to not have the thread sort of go across empty space, because obviously once the waste canvas is gone, you'll be able to see that through the organza. So at the moment, I was working on this yesterday. I did a few bits of Chromatic up here and just wasn't really in the right headspace for that level of concentration. So I've come down to fill in some of the DMC. Like in this solid area, how you travel on the back doesn't matter as much because it'll be covered by other stitches. It's just these sort of sticky out bits. And typically they're all in Chromatic, so they're extra hard to work with. But yeah, I'm excited to see this progress. If you want to go see other progress on this, Kat is working from the bottom up. I'm working from the top down. Rachel has started in the middle with the mermaid's hip sort of leg area. And then I'm trying to think. So there are other people who have joined us and that's out. I know I'm not going to remember all their names, so I'm not going to list everyone. But yeah, we're like, there's almost three different starting points that people have gone with. But I think Kat is probably the furthest along. So go have a look at some of her videos if you want to see more progress on this. This one's not going into March Madness because it is already part of Flosstube Frenzy, and I'm happy with the progress that that's going to get me. Legend of Freya. Okay. I can't remember what I said, but that is 10%. It probably doesn't look it, but it's nice to know that it doesn't take tons to get through it. Like, I have no idea how many days I've stitched on that, but we're making progress. Next up, we have another waste canvas project. The actual fabric is this gorgeous sort of space fabric. I'm so excited to pull the waste canvas on this one and sort of reveal the full effect. This is, I think the pattern is actually called Astronaut and T-Rex, but I just call it Space Dino. This one was inspired by Sophie from Turtle Bay Textiles. She has stitched this one and has it up in her shop as a fabric finish. I started this originally in 2024, December. I can't remember whether it was 12 starts of Christmas in the stockings or whether it was New Year's Eve. But I think I just started on plain black fabric and it was just a bit boring. So I decided I was going to restart and wanted some fun sort of spacey vibe fabric. Was struggling to find anything cross-stitchy, but I had this in my cotton fabric stash for project bag making and it just seemed perfect. So yeah, there we go. I also, in this most recent December, had a thread advent. So some of these colours, I very briefly, I think I did this for like 3 advent openings and then realised it was an insane idea. But the fancy flosses I got in my advent, I was trying to incorporate into the project that I was working on for that pair of days. So there were 2 threads to one project. So the tongue and the inside of the mouth there were one pair of threads. And then I think this grey Oh, the grey, which you probably can't see very well. Oh, there we go. Basically the shadow on the white areas, I think was another fancy thread, which I really hope I've written down because there's going to be more of that. It will be on my, I might have to go back and watch my own Flossmas video to figure out what I did there. Hang on, I feel like I need to count how many we've got in the March Madness pile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna stop there with adding stuff to Flossmas. So I've got 10. I have 2 new starts, and 12 was a good number. Like, I had to think about how I could do I just say Flossmas? I had to think about how March Madness would work with different numbers of projects. And like 12, traditionally you do it with 8 or 16. I have a plan for how to do it with 12. So although I do want to get progress on this, I only started it 2 months ago, and this was one of my 12 December starts for 2025. So everything you see after this is either a December start or a 2026 start. So I want to focus on the older stuff for now. So that one's just going back in the project box. Why has that got a chunky pair of scissors in it? That's really random. A full-on pair of like paper scissors in there. Oh, there we go. Next up we have Stitch Together. So this technically, as a project, it was started in October. I started working on it in December. This was part of a little sort of round robin e-sal with Emma from Emma X Stitching, Jo from Belushi Stitches, and Kelly from Animal Instinct. The 3 of them had planned this ahead of time, and I sort of jumped on the bandwagon at the last minute. They had all bought this pattern together on a stitchy shopping trip, and had wanted to do it as a round robin, but Kelly lives in Australia, so to save the hassle of posting things back and forth, when Kelly came back over to visit and went to the Floss Friends retreat with Emma and Jo, they all started this together and planned to stitch some of the words on each other's. I jumped in at the last minute, so joined them and added a bit to each of theirs for the words. And I think Emma and Kelly stitched some of the text on mine. And Jo unfortunately had to leave the retreat early before I organised my life and started this. So the next time I see her, I will have left a couple of letters for her to add to. So I started this in December and added sort of all of this, the greenery and the start of these bobbins in the middle. It's on a piece of Stitch Bunny hand-dyed fabric, which is absolutely stunning. I'm really glad that Emma talked me into joining on this, purely because it meant I went and bought this fabric, which is gorgeous. I don't know what count it is. I would guess a 16 by looking at it, but I'm not great at guessing these things. And again, I think I subbed some of these greens to use threads from my thread advent. I think. I don't know. Again, I might have to go back and watch my own Flosstube to figure that one out. I'm seeing Emma. I think Jo unfortunately can't make it, and Kelly is obviously back in Australia. But I'm seeing some stitchy friends at the end of the month, so I might make this one of the projects that I take and work on, because I don't. Where are we at? We are 38% done, but it's only 2,000 stitches in total, so there's only like 1,280 stitches to go on this, and it goes quite quickly. So yeah, might get that one back out sooner rather than later. So this was another restart. I originally started this in 2024 and just didn't really get anywhere with it. It's quite a big piece of fabric, so I'm gonna fold. So this is Flosstube Friends by October House Fibre Arts, but this is very much my recharting of it. So I have taken the original design and digitized it for my own use. So I put it into WinStitch, and then I've customized it. So basically this was a gift from Rachel and Sophie, and we backtrack. This came about at a Cardiff Stitchy Day. It was a Loopy Loos one, and I think it was sort of September time in 2024. I mentioned to Sophie that I was planning to do these 12 starts in the run up to Christmas, and then the 12 starts on New Year's Eve, and her immediate reaction was like, oh my god, can I pick you one of the patterns? I was like, yeah, I love that idea, go for it. And because Rachel had her shop and Sophie also had her shop at this Stitchy Day, she disappeared, and I swear to god it was like 3 minutes later she came back with a little sort of A5 sized package wrapped in fabric and tied with a ribbon from her shop. I was like, there you go. And I was like, what just happened? And then towards the end of the day, Rachel came up to me and handed me like a fistful of floss and went, I think you'll be needing this. And again, I was like, what is happening? So yeah, basically of the girls who were there, each of them picked a thread colour for themselves, and then they picked a colour for me as well. So when I recharted this, I recharted each of the people to be one of my stitchy friends. I've added, I think Shelley wasn't there, but they picked a colour for her because we'd just been to her wedding. We'd just been to her wedding. So they picked a colour for Shelley as well. And then I've also added in Beth when I recharted this. So at the moment we have Tangled Fire in the middle here. So this is one of my proudest finishes. So the middle figure is going to be me wearing basically this dress. I've got this in black as well. So I'll pop in the original, like what this looks like, and also my recharting. So this is going to be me in the middle holding Tangled Fire. We've got Sherry. I can't picture Sherry in a skirt, so I've swapped that to jeans, and she's going to be holding a bunch of shopping bags because that is what Sherry is famous for. And then we have Soph the turtle in her long t-shirt. So I think Sherry's colour I used for the jeans, Soph's colour I used for the for her t-shirt dress thing, and then we've got Soph on this end, I think, myself in the middle, and then you've got Beth, Rachel from Talking Dog Stitchery, and Shelley on the end. I'm really tempted though, I'm kind of sad that this piece of fabric isn't going to allow for it, but I was really tempted to like keep adding to it and have it be like a giant project that I keep adding more and more stitchy friends to, but unfortunately this fabric piece is not going to allow for that. But yeah, I love it so much, and I might have to change this because I think the beads are a bit too squashed. But for Tangled Fire, I used actual beads, and I used metallic thread in the border, metallic and like dark blue DMC, because that's how I'll have to include a picture of how it's framed because I'm so proud of this. I'm obsessed with that. It looks so good. So yeah, this I'm excited for. I've got the whole shebang of threads going on in here for all the different stitches. And one more. Okay. Ooh, ginger. So absolutely obsessed with that. I'm really excited to work on it. But again, I only restarted this like 2 months ago. So for now, it's not going in March. None of these are going in March Madness. I need to just stop. I need to stop, or I'm going to end up with 16 or 32 again. But I'm obsessed with that one. Right, this one is project bag from Rachel when we did a round robin, which is almost 2 years ago now, which is nuts. We did a bit of a bag exchange. I made everyone a bag as they came around. I was starting to make project bags, so it was almost like my opportunity to learn and practice. And then yeah, she very kindly made me one in return. This is Starry Starry Night Biscornu. This is by Cosford Rise Stitchery, and I saw the model stitch for this at Stitch in London and was just obsessed. The designer very kindly has gifted me this pattern. She happened to be at the retreat and I went and asked if it was available as a PDF because I'm a PDF person, and she discovered that she'd never actually put it on Etsy. But yeah, we were chatting and she very kindly emailed me after the retreat and said she'd like to give me this. So very grateful for that. I think I've redigitized this though because the it has backstitch and things, and I do like things to be in either Pattern Keeper or Saga. So I think I've redigitized this to put it in Saga so that I can track my stitches because it wouldn't go in otherwise. I've got all the fancy threads. There we go. And we've got the buttons. These were a bit of a pain to find, but they're really pretty. I'm very excited to use them. This one goes quite quickly, and while I think about it, the fabric is the called for, I want to say 36 count Mystic by Picture This Plus. Rachel and I ended up doing a bit of an exchange on this as well. So I tracked down somewhere to buy the buttons in bulk and have sent her the buttons, and she had some of the called for fabric and had enough for us to have half each and have enough to do this. So she's gifted me the fabric, I've gifted her the buttons. The threads are all also from Rachel, available in her shop. I should have said this before, but all of the stuff that Rachel sells, so any of the Weeks Dye Works fabrics that I've showed, pretty much all of the fancy threads. I think I only have Gentle Arts, Classic Colourworks and Weeks, except for the Alforest. Yeah, most of the fancy threads that I use come from Rachel, and a lot of the patterns are available from her as well. If you use Jess5 when you check out, I think you have to spend £10, but you get 5% off your order, which basically just justifies chucking a couple of extra pretty threads in there, doesn't it? But yeah, if you use that code, it gets you a discount. No, Alfie off. It gets you a discount and I get a little bit of commission, which I use towards giveaways and things. So win-win for everyone. Right, where are we up to? I think we've only got like 3 left. I can't know. I've gone out of order. I missed one because it's not in a standard project bag. Oh, I don't even have that many projects. How are we at an hour and a half already? I feel like I'm waffling a lot. So this one, again, I'll show this because it's quite unique. This lives in my floss roll, which is from Ladybird, handmade by Ladybird. And this is a GeckoRouge kit. So again, you might be able to see on there, they are just numbered like 1 to 90 something, 94, 95. That keeps all my threads organised. This one, I'm really undecided about. So I've started this twice and I don't think I like either of them. So this one is 25 count, 2/1/10 stitch. I really want a 10 stitch project. I want it to work for me. I'm not enjoying the 2 strands. And I was a bit dubious that the coverage was a little bit gappy. So UFO'd that. I'm glad I didn't bin it or anything because I might go back to it. And I restarted 1/1 full cross on 20 count, which is my go-to for my other full coverages, for B, for Gamer. This looks really gappy though, with the dark colours. And admittedly, B and Gamer don't have dark colours, so that's perhaps why. But also, I really wanted 10 stitch to work for me. So I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to go back to 25 count, but just suck it up and do 1/1 full cross. I've seen other people swap partway through a project, particularly when it's just a corner like this, and it'd be fine. So that's one option. I could just carry on with the 1/1 on 20 count, because in person, it's now not looking anywhere near as bad as when I held it up. It looks way worse on camera. Like, honestly, it's nowhere near that bad. Now I'm looking at it again with fresh eyes, it's really not that bad. But I really wanted this to work with 10 stitch. So the other option I'm considering is trying an even smaller count, so maybe 28 count or even 32, and trying it one strand, 1/110, just to see if that works, but I just don't know. Please, if you are a 10 stitch full coverage stitcher, please send me your advice. I want to love this project and it's just not happening. Ironically, because it's called Love. This is in my Flosstube frenzy at the moment, assigned to Beth from Beth Chadwick here on Flosstube, Stitch with Beth on Instagram, because she stitched, not this project, but she stitched an Aurora Borealis project, which really inspired me to want to do an Aurora project myself. However, because I'm uncertain about this, I mean, Beth didn't post a video in January, so there weren't stitches assigned to this month anyway. I'm going to change what project I'm assigning to Beth, which I'll get to at the end. I don't know what to do with that. So for now, it's kind of, I guess, on the naughty step. It's on pause, it's timeout, whatever you want to call it. I'm not planning to work on it until I figure out what to do about the fabric. The only thing I can think to do is just order an appropriately sized piece of even weave, gridded even weave in like 28, 32, 36, 40. I don't like, maybe all of them to try them. Actually, it would be tiny. I don't have the card handy that tells you how big it will be on different counts, but I could do like insane and do 1/1 on 40 count 10 stitch or something. It would be tiny. Maybe that's my next insane plan. I don't know. Right, we've got, oh god, we've got 6 left. How has this gone on so long? I'm not sorry, but also I didn't have breakfast before I started filming. Right, a little one. This is I think it's actually called 3 for Thee, and it's a pattern with 3 different smalls in it. Oh, he really wants fuss. The chin scratches. So this one is 3 for Thee scissors. And this one, the pattern was a gift from Emma from NeedleWork. The fabric and floss are from KLT Charting from my advent calendar this most recent December. Let me help. Alfie has a really itchy face apparently. I'm going to try and move through these a bit more swiftly because I still wanted to talk about March Madness. Yikes. Okay. Part of my brain wants to completely restart this, but I don't think I have it in me. Okay, that was scissors. Next we have another one that I'm considering restarting. This is Lizzie. We're not keeping this secret anymore, right? Lizzie and I were doing this as a sow, and neither of us can remember why we planned to do it secretly. We're using the same colour palette and then picked our own pattern for that colour palette. So I'm doing floral etchings. Oh, you can see right through that. Floral etchings, but neon. And again, I'll include a picture of the original and my version. I kind of hate how this is coming out. At the time I hated how this is coming out. I don't hate it now I'm looking at it, but it is 2 strands. I think this is 18 count. I might go down to 20 count and just do 1 strand because I wasn't enjoying. I think because with variegated thread, particularly ones that are this heavily variegated, you obviously have to use 2 strands that are next to each other, which is not my go-to strategy, and keeping them aligned can be a challenge. I think I was finding that annoying and stressful. So yeah, I think that's going to be a restart because I would rather get it right and enjoy it than it feel like a slog. But just because they're stunning, This is going to be like the most unprofessional, Flosstube professional looking thread show. There we go. How cool are they? Like a neon rainbow. I love them. But yeah, fabric's not doing it for me, so I need to track down some black 20 count and give that another go. Okay, next up, what's in this one? Ted Lasso. John and I are big Ted Lasso fans. There's not a lot to show you on this. This was a New Year's Eve start, so it only got an hour. But we are big Ted Lasso fans. Like, anytime we have people come visit for the weekend, if we get to like the evening, we're like, oh, should we chuck some TV on? Like, this will always be what we recommend. We'll always restart watching it to introduce other people to it, and then when they leave, we'll be like, should we just keep watching? So we have watched this end to end like 7-8 times. I love it. It's great. So this is artwork by Karen Hallion, and I think several people contacted her saying your patterns would be amazing as, your artwork would be amazing as cross stitch. Would you consider selling them as cross stitch or allowing someone else to convert them for you? And I think she converted them herself. So yeah, John got me this one as a gift, so was excited to start that one. I'm excited to make progress on it. I just need to get around to it. So the downside of having this many projects, you can't work on all of them at once. Next up, I've got 3 to go. I feel like I've gone from going really slow to suddenly powering through them. This was another New Year's Eve start, so it's another tiny one, although it does have a recognisable element, so that's something. Although that recognisable bit is right on a crease. So this fabric is 36 count beetroot from, I'm going to guess Fibre on a Whim. I think Fibre on a Whim. The project is Books and Plants, and my intent with this, although I've literally not read a single book so far this year, which is quite bad, is stitch the outline, and then each time I read or listen to, because I quite like audiobooks, a book in real life, I will stitch a book but do the colours to match the book that I've read or listened to. So this is meant to be like a little bit of a reading journal project. But like I say, we're 6 weeks in, I've not read a single page or listened to a single minute of audiobook. So, great plan. Might be working on that for the next 10 years or longer, knowing me. Right, final 2. This one I want to take a little bit more time on. So this is gaming. Not gamer, they're different. Gamer Nouveau, you've already seen. This one is gaming. It is also a GeckoRouge project. This one is artwork by Charlie Darling. He was a tattoo artist. I only found this out like 2 days ago when I went to try and find a picture of the original. Fabric isn't showing up very well. It's more purpley. Yeah, it's more like pinky purple. It's looking kind of blue-grey almost. I'm doing this with my own colour conversion. You can see the swatch in the bottom corner there. This is another one that I started on the white gridded Aida. I think in fact this was ungridded, so I gridded it myself. I didn't love the grayscale that the pattern included. There were some kind of greyish, but not even greyish, they were just beige colours in the middle that I just didn't love. And again, I decided I didn't want to stitch the background. So you'll be able to see on the picture, and this is another one where I would love advice and input. So this is one of those where they tell you to stitch the white background. So we're not stitching the white background. I'm also not going to stitch the grey sort of fade background around the middle. The bit that I would love some advice on or opinions is the sort of the drippy spiderwebby bits. You can see I've added, for this darkest colour, I've added these sort of drippy bits. I don't really know what to call them. They're like spiderwebby bits. at the bottom. By the time I got up here, I kind of wasn't so sure whether I wanted to include them. So there are some here, all not coordinating here, and some here. And then also the moon currently I've left off because I ran out of thread, and I intentionally worked around, I knew I was going to run out, so I left the moon so that if it's a different dye lot that I managed to get hold of, because this one's a hand-dyed thread, it's a Roxy Floss, if it's a different dye lot, it won't, like, it will look almost intentional that it's a slightly different shade for a different element of the pattern, different motif. But yeah, for the top here, I stopped adding those spiderwebby bits. I think I'm a bit hesitant if I'm not stitching the white background and I'm not stitching the fade, how to tell what's the spiderwebby bits and what's not. So I would love your opinions. Should I just do the controller, the dagger and the moon, and basically anything outside of those outlines gets left off? I was considering going around the outside and doing like the next couple of darkest shades just to sort of soften the edges a little bit. Is it called dithering? But again, at what point do I stop? So I don't know. I'd love opinions on essentially where to draw the line. This one is another one that's in Flosstube Frenzy, assigned to Anna herself from the Alchemist Stitcher. My intent was to do 200 stitches, and I'd restarted this in December, so I'd sort of done, I think, this diblet in the middle and like a bit of this line. I needed to add 200 stitches because she did one upload in January, and instead I added 4,500, 5,500 even. I just got really into it. And effectively colour completed. Like I say, I've still got the moon to go, but I'm tempted to do that in a moon colour, like a very pale yellow, like a variegated one. I don't know. But yeah, this has only got like 13 colours in it, so I'm really tempted to just do, and this is the biggest one, the rest all have like 2,000 stitches. I'm really tempted to just do a colour every time Anna uploads a video. This one's going to be a gift for my little brother, and I was just going to get to it when I got to it, but I could totally have this done by Christmas if I do a colour every time she uploads. But yeah, please, opinions on that background, what to include, what not to include. Should I do the moon in this very, very dark grey, or should I do it in a moon colour? I don't know. But for now, I'm out of thread, and I'm waiting, seeing Rachel at the end of the month. She's helping me to swap 2 of these colours, because DMC 3799 is not as, it's a dark grey, it's the darkest grey that DMC have, but I want 2 more dark greys between that and the one that I've used. So Rachel is having a look through her fancy flosses and bringing me some options when I see her at the end of the month to try and bridge that gap. And I want to do these from darkest to lightest, so I literally cannot do any more on that for now, which is probably a good thing because I would just keep going, and everything else will get neglected. So penultimate WIP, I've got one more, and it's a little one. This one is a restart of another Christmas project, one of my 12x12s from 2024. This is Mandala Giraffe by Maloka Designs, and I've restarted it on this piece of 20 count coffee crafts fabric. This was originally on, I think it was a 16 count. It was a beautiful piece of hand-dyed fabric, but it meant I had to stitch with 2 strands, and I don't enjoy that anymore. So we did a bunch of UFOing in January, and several of those were things I wanted to restart on a smaller aida. So that's that. Nice and simple. I really like, there's a lot of colour changes. I was going to say I'd really like this to be a always bring cross stitch when I finished the one I currently am working with, but I think the number of colours just means that's not going to work. So that is all of the WIPs. Very brief detour into knitting. but only because I'm so stinking chuffed that this is done. I knit my first sock. It's yeah, I literally finished this yesterday. I need to weave in this tail, but it's done. I knitted this. I made this. It used to look like this and now it looks like this. Unfortunately, I hate it. It doesn't fit me very well. I'm basically, because this is a shorty sock, it's only used about 20 grams, 23 grams I think of yarn. There's still 80 grams on the ball, so I'm gonna call this my practice sock. I'm gonna knit 2 more. I want more here. I don't like how the ankle sits, so I want more length in the leg. I think I want the heel flap to be a little bit longer, like maybe just another 2 or 4 rows. And I should have made this longer. Again, maybe like 5 rows longer in the foot length. And then I want the toe, it's currently got like a rounded toe, and I quite like that the pattern had it like you do row of decrease, then a row of regular knit for like a certain number of rows, and then you do a decrease every row, so you get more of that rounded toe. I think I want to try doing an anatomical toe, so where it accounts for the fact that your big toe, like if you think of the shape of a foot, your big toe would be here and then it slopes down, like your foot isn't rounded like this. One of the things for me with autism, I am very much the slightly ironic stereotype of I hate socks, I hate the seams. I have a brand of socks that I like wearing. Ironically, they are the sort of shorter ankle, I don't know what they're called even, 3/4 socks. But yeah, the toe seam on this just irritated me immensely, and I think some of that is because it was too short, so it was like there was a bit too much tension on my toes. And I hate how these stripes in the middle came out. I think if I were to do this again, when I get to the end of a colour here on the heel turn, I would just like essentially end my thread, end my yarn, and start again with the right colour. I'm pointing at the back, sorry. When I finished the yellow here and I knew I was going to come up and rejoin all these stitches, I wish I'd almost skipped the orange and the pink and gone straight to the purple, so that up here the colours continued normally. I hate that there's one row of purple and then a really skinny orange. I hate it. It looks really stupid, especially when it's on my foot. So I did a thing, but I joked that I might make this a stocking for Alfie. But yeah, I'm proud of myself for doing the thing. I've learned a bunch of lessons. I'm ready to do the thing again, but better. I was hoping to have the pair finished by the end of the month so that I could wear them at this get together with basically we booked an Airbnb. But Beth and I have been learning to knit socks together, so I was like, and she'll be there, so I was excited to have them done and be like, yay, I get to wear my socks. But I'm not going to knit 2 whole socks in that time. Anyway, that's what I meant at the very, very start. Jesus, almost 2 hours ago, when I said I don't know whether to call it a finish, a start, a prospective project. I don't know. Right, let's circle back to March Madness very briefly. We have 10 projects, so there's 9 here plus Twisted Band Sampler. I mentioned 12, so I'm going to throw in 2 new starts, and I'm going to pause here to go and grab the supplies. So the first new start I've already mentioned. We have Twisted Band Sampler already on the go. Just going to quickly bring that across to remind you the colour scheme. So dark grey fabric, light rainbow threads. Can I hold these all up? I'm going to be starting the rainbow band sampler on this light grey fabric with dark rainbow threads. Can't see all of them because they're all kind of squashed in and the lighting is very reflective. But yeah, so this was inspired by Sherry, Just So Sherry. She did, I think it was called Quaker Sisters, where it was two long narrow pieces and one was light thread on a dark background and the other was dark thread on a light background. And again, it's one of those, I'm not really a Quaker person, but I saw that and was like, I need something with that vibe. And this is what I landed on. So I need to get myself the pattern, and I re-digitize the twisted band sampler. So I will probably do the same for rainbow band sampler, so that I can have it in Saga and mark it off as I go. And I will still need to refer back to the pattern for the instructions on the fancy specialty stitches, but I just find it easier to have that like printed or something, but be able to see where I'm putting the stitches on my tablet. So that is going to be project number 11 for March Madness. And then project number 12, I'll grab this out as well because the folded up fabric does not do this even the littlest bit of justice. This is a 32 count opal from Sparkly's. I'm just now questioning whether this is actually going to be big enough, so I might have to go check that afterwards. So this is opal, very pretty sparkle. I want to do the rest of the Abode series by Flosstabilities. Brain is going completely blank. So Lauren and Sam from Flosstabilities. Lauren very kindly gifted me is it Chalet in the Snow and Shack by the Shore? I think that's what they're called. But this very much gives me like Space Nebula kind of vibes. So I think this would be really pretty as the sky backdrop for, I'm pretty sure it's Chalet in the Snow. Chalet? Yeah, must be it. I'm now a bit cautious whether it's going to be tall enough, because my plan is to be able to put this in the same frame that Cabin in the Woods is in and sort of cycle them in. And I think this might be a little bit short, unfortunately. Rubbish. If that's the case, I might have to go back to Sparkly's. And like, this is a solitaire, which means it's a one of a kind. I hope that might just be because it's an unusual cut. I might have to go back and see if I can get a fat quarter of the same. It doesn't really show up very well. It's got like lovely sort of yellows and pinks. It's really pretty. Camera's not doing it justice, I promise. Yeah, so if that fits, that will be a new start. If it doesn't, then I might chuck Space Dino in. Spur of the moment decision. That's going to be my backup 12th. So the way that I'm going to make this work with 12 is we're going to have almost like a group round. So we'll have 4 groups of 3. I will stitch on, say, project A, B and C for a day each, and then there'll be a vote on Instagram between those 3. The one winner will then move on and be part of the semi-final, quarter-final. I am terrible. It will be one of the 4 winners because there'll be 4 groups, and then we'll have the 4 will be in like 2 pairs to face off, and that will then give you the finalists. I feel like I made that much. I'll diagram as I was talking there so that you can visually see what I'm talking about, because half the time I don't think I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the plan. We are just shy of 2 hours of footage, which is going to be a nightmare to edit. But if you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. I hope you've seen something that you're excited to come back and see progress on, or that you're excited to maybe go and stitch yourself. My next update will be probably the start of March, and we'll be showing you my February progress, my FFO February progress, which admittedly at the moment is pretty dismal. So I've got 2 weeks to turn that around in terms of actually FFOing things. But yeah, I hope if you like what you see, I hope you'll subscribe and come back and join me for my stitchy journey, my stitchy progress, and the insanity of maybe doing 1/140 count full coverage. Come say goodbye. Good boy. So from me and Alfie, that is all for now. And I will hopefully see you next time. Bye.